Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're taking a deep dive into a single real-world online source.
Right, trying to see what it tells us about the current real estate scene from, a specific angle.
Exactly. Our source today, it's the website for Mandeep Toor.
The broker of record at OMAXE Real Estate and Say Brokerage. That's in Brampton, Ontario, right?
That's the one. And our mission basically is to figure out what kind of info a brokerage like this in that market is putting out there right now.
Like what perspectives, what news are they choosing to highlight on their own site?
Yeah, we're kind of looking at their site as a curated snapshot of their view on the real estate world in, early 2025.
Makes sense. So we looked around the site. It's pretty much what you'd expect layout-wise.
Mm-hmm. Services for buying, selling, renting. Yeah. Offers that free market evaluation thing.
And the property search is clearly zoned in on Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga. They're turf.
Definitely. Plus, you've got the usual tools for visitors, calculators, home value estimators, listing alerts, that kind of stuff.
Sure, standard features, but the bits that are, I think, most interesting for our deep dive are the blog posts and the links to external real estate news.
Totally agree. That's where you really get a sense of the narratives and information they're pushing, or at least highlighting. Exactly.
So, should we start with the blog posts? They often give a more direct perspective.
Good idea. Let's see what's on their latest blog post list. Some interesting titles here. Seem quite timely.
Okay, what's the most recent one?
Looks like March 28th, 2025. Title is The End of Canada's More. It links to an article by Daniel Foch.
Ah, okay. And the snippet?
It talks about a potential shift. Something that could reshape Canada's housing market. And it flags an action by OSFI specifically.
OSFI. Okay, so right off the bat, they're pointing to a regulator as a potential market shaker.
Right. And for anyone listening, OSFI is the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. They set rules for banks, mortgage qualifications.
Yeah, their decisions can have huge ripple effects on housing. So highlighting a potential OSFI move suggests they see regulatory changes as a significant factor right now.
Absolutely. And then, look, just 8 days before that, March 20th, another post by Daniel Foch.
What's that one called?
Canadian Real Estate Mark. The snippet says Canada's housing market is finally meeting a storm it can't immediately weather. Cites CREA data for that.
Wow. A storm it can't immediately weather. That's pretty strong language.
It is, isn't it? And using CREA data adds credibility. CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association, they provide all that core market data.
Sales, prices, inventory, the stuff everyone watches. So featuring a piece that calls out a storm right now suggests they're acknowledging the current headwinds backed by numbers.
It seems that way. But then, scroll down a bit further, back to January 11th, 2025. This one's by Mandeep Toor, or OMAXE Real Estate Inc.
Okay, their own content. And the title?
Is Canada's Real Estate M. The description for this one, it mentions optimism brewing within the sector as Canada enters 2025.
Optimism. Okay, based on what?
Explicitly links it to expected lower interest rates.
Ah, okay. That is fascinating. So within just a few weeks on their blog, you've got posts acknowledging a current storm based on recent data.
Right.
And another highlighting optimism brewing based on future expectations, specifically around interest rates.
So what's the message there, do you think? It seems kind of mixed.
Well, maybe they're trying to walk that line. Acknowledge the tough reality now, based on the data, but also point towards a potential light at the end of the tunnel if, rates do come down later in the year, like many economists are predicting.
Sort of a, yes, it's challenging, but hang in there because this might change things.
Exactly. Managing current perceptions while seeding future hope, maybe.
And right in the middle of those national level posts, there's one from February 10th, 2025.
Okay.
Brampton Real Estate Mark. This one's written by Mandeep Toor himself, specifically about the current state of the real estate market in Brampton, Ontario.
Bring it right back home. Super local focus.
Yeah, it reinforces their expertise in Brampton, make sure visitors interested in that area see specific commentary. Builds local trust, right?
Definitely. It's smart to mix the local angle in with the bigger picture stuff.
Now, okay, stepping slightly aside from the pure market analysis, there's one blog post title that definitely jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah? Which one?
From December 25th, 2024. 7 Creatures That Can. The snippet. It's about discovering unexpected creatures in your toilet.
Get out. Seriously, creatures in the toilet.
Apparently. It kind of breaks the pattern of market analysis and news, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. It's a good reminder, though. Sometimes these sites mix in, more general interest stuff, maybe just to grab attention or add variety.
Could be. Adds a bit of human touch, perhaps. Certainly wasn't expecting that between OSFI and Market Storms.
No kidding. Shows they're thinking beyond just numbers, maybe trying to engage people in different ways.
All right, so let's pivot then. What about the real estate news links section? This is where they pull in headlines from outside sources.
Right, another layer of curation, seeing what external news they deem relevant.
And the range here is pretty wide, actually. I saw headlines like, Update, Hudson's Bay announces sale of up to 28 stores, from the Vancouver Sun.
Okay, so that's retail property news, not just residential. Interesting.
Then there was Maritime Province's top chart of best places to buy real estate in Canada, from CTV News.
So, regional comparisons, highlighting performance differences across the country.
Yeah, and stuff about REITs too, like where will Canadian apartment properties REIT be in 5 years, from Yahoo.
REITs, real estate investment trusts. Following those gives you a sense of the investment climate, especially in sectors like apartments or commercial properties.
Right, and plus, something very local. Toronto Tower makes final push for tallest in Canada, and first to hit super tall status, from BlogTO.
Super tall, that's over 300 meters usually, so a major urban development project.
Exactly, so putting these curated headlines together, it shows this brokerage is looking at real estate pretty broadly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's definitely not just about houses for sale in Brampton. They're tracking retail shifts, regional trends, the investment side via REITs, big city developments.
It paints a picture that all these things are part of the ecosystem, potentially influencing local values and trends.
Absolutely. It shows the diverse factors they think matter to their clients, everything from big national economic stuff down to, super tall towers nearby.
Okay, so let's try to pull this all together then. Looking just at what we've seen on this one website, what are the key takeaways?
Well, purely from this source, this brokerage in the Brampton area seems to see the Canadian market as going through a storm right now, according to that CREA-linked post.
Right, acknowledging current challenges.
And they're also flagging potential big impacts from regulators like OSFI.
But crucially, they balance that, don't they?
They do, with that clear message of optimism brewing for 2025, specifically tied to hopes for lower interest rates.
And all the while, making sure to include specific commentary on their home turf, the Brampton market.
Exactly. And the external news links, they reinforce this broad awareness tracking commercial property regional markets, investment trusts, major developments.
And occasionally toilet creatures.
Right. Can't forget those. It just shows the variety, maybe a strategy to inform, reassure, and maybe keep things interesting.
So, okay, this brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah. Based on looking at just this one source, this curated online view from a specific brokerage focused on Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga.
How might their choices highlighting certain national trends like OSFI, CREA data, rate hopes, alongside their local takes, how might that shape the information you'd get as a potential client?
And maybe consider how much those expected future events, particularly the idea of lower interest rates, are factoring into the story they're telling people who visit their site right now.
Something to think about. How curated information frames perception.